Now from the Weather Tracker TV Storm Studios, this is your weather today. Here's Chief Meteorologist William Cole.
All right, folks, here we go right out of the gate on this TGIF Friday. And of course, all eyes are now on the weekend forecast. And I can tell you, we've got a pretty decent looking weekend forecast. Of course, we had the active day of weather yesterday, some rain, some thunderstorm activity around the area. All of that is long gone. In fact, even as we go through the day today, Friday, really a pretty good looking forecast. Daytime highs right up around 60, but there will be a northerly wind in place. And not that the wind is going to be overly strong, but it will be just brisk enough that it will put a little bit of an edge on the temperatures as we go through the afternoon, and also if you're making any kind of Friday evening plans. So keep that in mind as well. We had a cold front that came through the area last night, really behind the storm system, that brought us the rain and a little bit of thunder to the area. There wasn't much in the way of cold air with it, just kind of a reinforcing shot of some continental air. But you can see as we went through the overnight how it kind of progressed through the area. Some locations off to the northwest, these are actual morning lows here. Definitely chillier from Bowie all the way back down to Breckenridge. You can also see the Graham area, some 30s there. Elsewhere, most of us in the 40s, but again, you can see that it took the front just a little bit longer to get down towards the Palestine area. The folks down there out the door this morning were right around 50. 44 was the morning low in DFW. And by the way, it's worth mentioning 45 out the door this morning, again, just a little bit earlier in Dallas. So there are the fronts, yes, plural, meaning two. We kind of had the initial wind shift line come through, but the secondary, kind of this double barrel front here, this is what had at least some cooler air with it. And again, that's what's going to at least keep our temperatures in check as we go through the afternoon. But all the rain, all the thunder, all the active weather, again, you can see, yes, it is still well off to the north, well off to the east. And that's basically the direction it's going to be heading as we go through the day today. But again, the upper level storm system still looking quite impressive. Of course, we mentioned yesterday as it was coming through the southern plains, if this would have been a different time of year, say maybe April or May, that storm system yesterday could have caused a severe weather outbreak. Obviously, yesterday being the last day in November, we're quite a bit cooler. There's not enough instability. So it was a different story, but it was still a potent storm regardless. And it continues to be a potent storm. Again, you can see the big, deep storm trough, the dip, if you will, in the flow. And like I mentioned, that does push off to the east. One more little trough behind it. I'm watching this. You can see it right there across the desert southwest. That's going to be coming in for tomorrow, Saturday. There's still some very weak indications that there might be a couple raindrops around the area with some additional cloud cover, but it really just doesn't have much moisture to work with. And because of that, I think for the most part, our weekend is going to turn out just A-OK. The opportunity of severe weather today has shifted down into the deep south and down along the Gulf Coast as well. An opportunity of maybe some wind and maybe a tornado warning or two down there. So there goes the storm system. Again, you see it pulling away. Here comes that next little storm for tomorrow. We'll talk more about that one coming up. And then as we get into next week, I think we've got really several days of really nice weather. We'll be in this northwesterly flow. Might have a cold front or two with not a lot of cold air next week. Doesn't really do much for us. But then as we get to the end of this upcoming week, we're talking about the following weekend, we're starting to get some pretty strong indications. There could be a decent storm system coming in, and that storm system may also have some chillier air with it, and that may not be a storm we need to watch. But again, like I mentioned, that is still well on down the road. We're talking about 9, 10, maybe even 11 days on down the road. So today, again, really good looking afternoon. Again, this evening for any kind of Friday evening plans looks great. Overnight looks great. Let's watch carefully for tomorrow, Saturday. You'll see there it is, a couple little blips of green. Again, that next little storm trough comes through, a little weak boundary with it. Again, could we have a raindrop or two? It's not impossible. I put in a 10% probability of, again, an isolated shower as we go through tomorrow. Otherwise, really just carry on with your weekend. The rest of the weekend really looking good. Rainfall projections, this would be over the next 5 days. Again, you can see by and large here in North Texas, we are basically dry. So a few 50s up along the Red River Valley today, but again, most of us in the 60s. Really a good looking afternoon. This would be your Friday evening if you are making plans. Temperatures through the 50s, but still kind of a brisk wind, but fairly light. So keep that in mind. And then overnight, we're basically back down into the 40s. And a lot of us, for tomorrow, Saturday, we will be making a run towards 70. In fact, tomorrow really looks good. Like I mentioned, a few clouds, 10% shot of a sprinkle. Sunday also looking good, more in the way of sun on Sunday. And then take a look at next week. All that looks great. But then, like I mentioned, about 9, 10, 11 days on down the road, there's that next storm system. That could be some weather complications.